Hello and welcome to this, the latest JBR Capital podcast. Fund your passion with me, Amanda Stretton, and Mr. Passion himself, founder of JBR Capital, Darren Selig. And I'm delighted that this time we are hosted by you, Chris Bucknall, and we are here at the Aladdin's Cave, which is VManagement. Now,
welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to be here, I have to say, and way bigger than I was expecting. I don't know why, but just for those who don't know, tell us what you do.
Well, here at VManagement, we store and manage cars, very simply. So we provide secure storage. That's sort of the base level of what we do, but we also provide management and logistics services. So if you're lucky enough to have 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, the management of those cars is actually quite complicated. And very often PAs don't have the requisite skills or indeed the time to do that. So yeah, we do a lot of kind of moving cars around, dealing with paperwork, DVLA, the joys of DVLA,
that sounds
and associated things. So that's what we do at VManagement.
And Darren, you want to know where the V comes from, don't you?
I certainly do. I mean, obviously in JBR, I very subtly made it after my children. But what's the V stand for you?
Well, it's not as interesting as your story.
Mine's quite bland.
I think we wanted to have a letter that was quite graphic. And we wanted to have the word management after it because it's what we do. And V is a letter that's quite synonymous with bits and bobs around cars, V8, V12, Veloce, Vantage, and it's very graphic.
Yeah.
And actually we came up with that at a rosé-fueled lunch in Portugal 6 years ago.
There was lots of red wine involved.
No,
Yeah,
rosé.
Rosé.
So this must, though, for this sort of creativity is obviously a legacy of your background before you got involved in this, because you were a screenwriter.
Yeah, the two don't really go together, do they?
I don't know. The V was creative.
I think in life it's very important to reinvent yourself, or for me it was very important to reinvent myself. I've been a screenwriter for I think the thick end of 20 years, and had kind of come to the end of that road. I wasn't as good a screenwriter as I hoped I was. But
is that somebody told you that, or did you come
no,
to that
that's the problem. I
realisation?
wish somebody had said, you're a crap screenwriter, go and do something else. But the problem is I had a great agent and lots of great producers who kept buying options in stuff that I was writing, and I kept being hired to write episodes of other people's shows. And you're kind of drawn into this world and continually on the end of a hook. And at some point I just went, I've had enough of this.
So what were the highlights of the screenwriting? We'll come on to the cars in a minute, but I'm just curious.
I think probably, my own projects were the ones that I really wanted to get off the ground. I think the highlight was right at the beginning of my career when I wrote, I spent 6 months learning how to write screenplays, and then I wrote a movie screenplay, and it was taken up by, at the time, Hollywood's biggest agency, and they told me, right, we're going to make this movie. We're going to package it. We're going to put all our stars in it and our director, and here we go. And of course, 20 years later, it was still in development hell and never got made. So I think that was the highlight, right at the beginning.
Right at the very beginning, it went downhill.
Yeah.
So did you always have the love for cars?
I did. Cars were really the thing in life I've been most passionate about from childhood. My father was a big car guy. We used to watch the Grand Prix together, and I was obsessed by Grand Prix as a kid. And then, as a little sideline, I got involved in a tour that used to go from London to Monaco every year. When I was before I was a screenwriter, I was a cameraman and then a TV producer. I wasn't very good at that either.
You're quite talented, aren't you?
No, not at all. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
I watched some of your programmes. I like them.
Well, thank you, Darren. I've got a fan.
Yeah, just the one.
So you were doing this tour to Monaco?
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, actually, when I was about 23, somebody rang me up and said, when I was a cameraman, and said, will you come and film a charity car rally that's going from London to Monaco? We'll pay you your expenses. So I thought about it for about half a second, and off we went to Monaco, and it was just the most fun thing I'd ever done. So the next year, I bought a beach buggy and thought that would be a good car to drive to Monaco. I was 24.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
But it's still a big leap from going screenwriting, interest in cars, a tour, to storage and management.
Well, yeah. So I started entering this tour every year, and it became a bit of an obsession. and then eventually became great friends with the guy who had created it, a guy called Jeremy Jackson Sedner, who went on to create the Hampton Court concours. And then he got fed up with it in about 98, asked me if I would take it over for him for a year. So I agreed to do just 1 year, and then took it up a level and did a few different things with it. And we then started organising it together from 99 onwards. And it was just a little sideline. It was kind of an annual little tiny sideline when I was doing my writing. And then began meeting bigger and bigger collectors through the event as we began taking it more and more upmarket. And realising there was a gap in the market at the very top for management. So I was then asked by one of our tour guests if I wanted to look after his collection of unbelievable Ferraris, truly spectacular Ferraris, which I did, as a part-time thing, as well as screenwriting, as well as organising a tour. And the first thing I did was to go and look at 6 of his cars in a barn on a farm, and he hadn't seen them in this particular barn on a farm. And I wouldn't have stored a bicycle there, let alone £20 million worth of Ferraris. So started to think really that maybe management in isolation wasn't at the level I wanted to do it. It wasn't possible unless you could put your arms around the cars and properly care for them physically. So throughout 2015, I started coming up with the finer details of the business plan for VManagement. Started putting financial numbers together and looking at buildings and thinking about how it might actually work as a successful business. And then at the end of 2015, we found the building, signed a lease on this 40,000 square foot building, put in this mezzanine, adapted it for our use, and started getting cars in at the beginning of 2016.
I've been to quite a few storage facilities in my time, and the thing I've always been struck by is all these amazing, beautiful cars are covered. They'll tend to be covered over, and you're told it's the environment and the dust and everything, but come here, everything's open, and you've even got carpet on the floor. I've never seen this in my life in a storage unit. It's better than my home. I mean, it's a wonderful environment, but what's the ethos behind that approach as to what you traditionally see in storage? Well,
I think that there are 2 sides to that. One is, technically, when you store a car, actually putting a cover on it isn't a good idea, because you trap air in the car. If you leave it open, air passes through it, and that's a good thing for the car. But if it's stored in the right environment, that doesn't matter too much anyway. But it's really the aesthetics of it. These are works of art. Why would you cover them up?
I have a vision of this place. You know, in the film Toy Story, when all the toys at night come out and play, and they all run around. I reckon that's what this lot do, because they're not covered.
Damn.
Yeah, busted.
It'd be quite a show, wouldn't it?
But obviously, since 2015, then, and that initial 6 cars or however many it was, I mean, you've seen demand significantly grow, judging by how many cars
we
you've got
have,
here.
but actually, I was shocked at how price sensitive the market was. So we were coming into the market with the aim of being the leader in what we were doing. We were not interested in being second best, and we wanted to price accordingly. And it was amazing how much resistance there was with the price that we were wanting to charge. Traditionally in the UK, the car storage industry has grown up in barns on a farm. And they tended to be either landowners or farmers who were diversifying, and they could charge, pretty low rents. They owned the building. There were very few costs around it. But of course, we were offering something completely different. We're actually largely an office-based business. What you see here is the cars in a secure environment, but actually management is really what we do. So we needed to be charging a lot more than anybody else. And it took a while to find the clients who wanted top drawer management. And also part of the problem is that discretion is something we were really keen that we had here. We didn't want to scream and shout who we were and what we did, but actually trying to market yourself in that way with one hand tied behind your back isn't easy. So we grew slowly. We didn't fill the place until probably year 3 or beyond.
And now? Looks like you're heaving.
This is for us full. So one of the key aspects of our storage facility is space. So if you go into lots of other storage facilities, they quite rightly, as a business, will be utilising every single square footage, every square foot they're paying for. Now, as an owner of any of these cars, personally, I wouldn't want to see my car crammed in inches away from others. I would like to see them in this space. And we always say to our clients, if you want to come and pick your car up, if you're driving down the M4 and the sun's shining, you want to come and pick the car up on the spur of the moment, don't bother ringing us, buzz on the door. By the time you've finished a decent cup of coffee, it'll be out front, tyre pressure's reset, cleaned, ready to go.
Is now a good time to mention your coffee machine's broken?
It is broken, and I'm sorry about the quality of the
Just
coffee.
saying. Now, but as you say, you didn't want to sort of scream and shout about the people involved, but of course you have got a link with Derek Bell. That must have been fantastic, and he is an absolute legend.
Yeah, everybody loves Derek. Yeah, so I met Derek at the end of 2015, just as we were setting up. We started talking about VManagement, the aims of the business, and he was very happy to be involved in it. I mean, the truth is we have not screamed and shouted about his involvement in the business, as I'm sure is probably was what he would have wanted. We didn't really discuss the level of how we would push him, but it's wonderful to have him on board, particularly on the events front. So he's heavily involved in a number of our events. But when he became a consultant to VManagement, we weren't doing any events, but it was just great to have his name associated with the business in a way that he epitomizes everything that we want to be as a business. Old school British manners and integrity.
Gentlemanly.
Yeah.
Have you met him, Derek?
A couple of times, but only briefly. But everyone
He's lovely.
speaks always very highly of him.
He is a
Bit
legend.
of a legend of
Yeah.
the sector for sure. Just a question for me, it is VManagement and you're managing, but just a little bit more deal, what exactly are you managing in terms of the cars? Is it just storage? Is it paperwork, DVLA? What does it
It's all of
actually
that.
involve?
It can involve, so for example, we got a call yesterday from a client of ours in Canada for whom we helped to secure a 300 SL Mercedes in Switzerland a couple of years ago, and we arranged for it to be flown to him in Canada. We arranged all the paperwork around that and a little bit of due diligence around the car as well. He called up yesterday and said, found a Dino that I'm interested in. Can you guys go and take a look at it, give me an opinion on it, and arrange, to have it transported if he chooses to buy it. So that's a typical logistics task. During the summer months, we get asked to truck and ship and fly cars all over the world, the Middle East, South France. It can be as simple though as somebody saying, I bought this registration number, can you arrange the plates to be put on it?
Yeah.
Everything in between, we recently had 2 cars arrive from Australia. So those cars needed importing and registering. And that's not a straightforward process if you don't know what you're doing.
I've got a question about importing cars.
Okay.
So maybe you can help us out.
I'm sure we can.
It's a race car coming from abroad. So and does that mean a lot of your customers are kind of global, high net worth individuals rather than just being a UK-based person? That makes a lot of sense that they would need help in storing and managing and transportation worldwide, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Well, we have clients who are literally 10 minutes around the corner from here.
Okay.
And we have clients in Australia and everywhere in between. But probably about half our clients are overseas.
And do they sometimes just turn up and want to come and touch and feel and look at them? Because, as you say, they are works of art. And one of the rationale for not doing covers is so the beauty is visible.
Absolutely.
And, and I've been to lots of our customers' houses, and they have unbelievable garages, and they're almost like displays for their cars.
I guess it's also for people turning up, coming to see their car. They may look at another car and think, "Oh, I think I might want one of them too." And it's almost like a shop. It's a sweet shop.
It is. We never do that though. Actually, that would be quite an easy thing to do. Is to keep ringing up a client saying you're interested in selling that car. So I just mean I might come and look at
that and decide I want to buy one of them, and then I will go off and buy.
There aren't many places that you could see this range of cars
exactly.
and actually see them up close and in one building. No, so
and actually get some ideas on colour schemes.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Because there are
like
quite an array of interesting colours that you wouldn't naturally think of.
Yeah. You've got some really interesting, I mean, even I'm just looking in my eye line, some pretty diverse and very interesting cars here. What's your favourite?
Well, that can change, but right now...
Of course, listen, that's my prerogative.
288 GTO.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm an 80s boy, so that's right in the sweet spot of around about the right power, so 400 brake horsepower, manual, no electronics on it.
No, that's what...
Proper driver's car.
Yeah.
Somebody can actually open the bonnet if something happens and try and work out what the issue is.
We would. I would leave that to my colleagues at VEngineering to do. Is that a neat segue or what?
That's a beautiful segue, but we can cover that in more detail if you like. I just want to pick up again on the track days as well. They've become really popular, haven't they? And they obviously go hand in hand with everything else that you do.
They do, yeah. We do. We don't do a lot of them. We generally do sort of 5 or 6 track days a year.
But they're charitable.
Well, no. You're talking about Veloce. So we do track days for our clients.
Right.
Slightly different. We do kind of 20 cars with 7.
There I was thinking you were all altruistic and lovely.
Veloce is a charity event.
Yes.
But we also do ordinary track days, which are not altruistic.
No.
Anyway, Veloce, I'll tell you about Veloce.
Tell me about
Veloce. So in back end of probably 2016, I was introduced to a wonderful philanthropist and collector called Peter Newmark, who has truly the most drop-dead collection imaginable. Done a lot of racing. He's raced at Monaco. He's lovely. Raced at the Revival many, many times, and has an amazing. You know him clearly. I know him. He's a lovely, lovely man, and he had a charity track day utilising his incredible collection, and he was doing very well, making lots of money with that track day, and wanted to take it to another level, and really wanted to get an events company into it. So by then we had established V Events, and we were already doing a number of our own track days and international tours, and he asked if we would like to get involved in this track day. So we came up with a name, Veloce. We thought it would be good to use a V, and came up with the concept of combining the greatest racing drivers we could get our hands on, starting with Derek, with the greatest cars we could get our hands on, and charging sponsors, of which I hope JBR is soon to become one.
He's already tried to tap me up for that, by the way.
We'll talk about that later.
Definitely.
And we charged them lots of money to bring their highly valued clients along to what has in the past, since 2017, been Goodwood, will be Silverstone this year, to be driven around these amazing circuits by great racing drivers. So effectively what we're offering is it is a money can buy
experience. Is it quite a sedate ride round, or do they pelt it round?
Are you thinking about your
ride
with David?
My experience with David Brabham.
Well,
it took me days to recover.
Well, we do have a speed limit.
Okay.
And because we like to run our track days as no helmet days, so there are rules and regs around that. But if I tell you that once or twice in the past, a couple of the drivers have exceeded the speed limit. Yeah. One of them was in 2017, Gerhard Berger came and drove for us. And he was driving, this will give you an idea of the level of the event. So Gerhard Berger in a 250 short wheelbase.
Wow.
Apparently he was doing 150 down the back straight. Apparently, but we didn't have a clock on him, but apparently.
Did the passenger come back smiling?
The passenger came back, actually it was his first, they get 3 rides during the day with different drivers and different cars. He came back into the pits, got out, trembling, said to the sponsor that had paid for his entry, he said, "I'm off." The sponsor said, "Why are you leaving so early?" He said, "That literally is the finest moment in my motoring life. It's never going to get better, so I'm just going to leave now."
That sounds iconic.
That didn't even stay for the sandwiches afterwards. I can't believe it.
So, so to finish off with Veloce, it's very limited in numbers. We have just 75 guests this year because we're at Silverstone. We have 100. and we have raised since 2017, bearing in mind we had a fallow year in 2020, we've raised just over £500,000
Wow.
for some great charities.
Okay, I take it back. You are altruistic.
There you go.
There you are. You've
That's very good.
Well done.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to raise £200,000 this year. Our aim, we're very ambitious with the event, but our aim is to take it to £500,000 a year.
Gosh.
I think we can do it.
Yeah, wow. I'm not going to ask how you plan to do that with
Well,
limited numbers.
I think the truth is what we are offering
It's all on you, Darren.
is
No pressure whatsoever.
is a priceless experience. I mean, imagine, and people had this experience last year, being driven around Goodwood by Damon Hill in a 250 GTO. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't get any better. Well, what value would you put on that? Well, people would put a different value on it, but I think I think
our mutual customer base are looking for these days, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's experiences,
Yeah.
not possessions.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
possessions they like as well.
Well, I
obviously,
mean, this
but
is-
it's
we-
experiences. You can't.
No,
you know,
exactly.
Experiences with those possessions.
something you'll talk about.
See, it's another nice segue there.
All of this.
I'm doing your job, aren't I?
You are doing. I know. So this is your screenwriting. But I just want to pick up again. Just going back, and we can come back to it. This whole thing, this whole automotive sort of sector, this very sort of niche sector, it is about people's passion.
Correct.
And it is therefore about really engaging with that and keeping it alight and, as you say, providing those sorts of experiences that you can buy with your incredible cars and these incredible drivers.
It is, and it's not all of our owners here are drivers. Most of them are, but
Please tell me you don't have anybody that owns one of these cars and doesn't drive it.
My lips are sealed.
But you can just say yes or no.
Yes.
Really?
There's a lot of these cars don't get driven.
No,
You know
but
that.
people
It's-
must be able to drive them. I mean, it's like,
Oh, they can. Whether they actually do or not is another
Well, I
matter.
think I think cars have become a commodity. Cars have become an investment tool, and
That's right.
which is that's been great for your business. It's probably great for my business too. But I think the other issue is that actually a lot of these cars here are incredibly difficult to drive in the way that they were intended.
yeah.
I mean, some of these cars here are 800-900 horsepower. Where can you drive cars with that kind of power in an increasingly regulated environment on roads that are increasingly busy? And of course the answer is, well, on track or overseas.
I need to take you on a track one day.
I think my track days are over after last summer. 225 miles an hour.
Really?
Yes.
That's impressive.
Donington.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was one of those life moments where everything flashes before
In
you.
what?
Brabham B262
Wow.
with David Brabham driving it. And that was actually quite an experience that
Yeah.
I will talk about. And I have the video footage
You
of
could
my
call it-
face looking like terrified.
Code Brown.
Yes.
No, it was an experience, and it was an interesting
I
experience
got
for me
that.
because
I think
Code
that.
Brown. No, I got it.
Okay.
And,
He's just too polite.
no, I
He's
got
glossing
it.
over it.
Yes, there was a Brown
Such
moment.
vulgar
Let's
moment.
move on from that. But it was an experience, and honestly, it was the best and worst moment of my life. And like during that very long few minutes that seemed to go on forever, literally forever, I wanted it to be over. And the minute it was over, I wanted to get back in it again. I don't know how that's even possible, but that was my experience of it.
To be driven by somebody with that kind of talent is.
He looked like he was on a Sunday drive. I mean, he was not phased at all. I was literally terrified.
Well, this is what we get on Veloce.
Yeah.
Is people get out of the car and go, I can't believe how relaxed he was driving at that
No,
speed.
it was incredible.
Moving on to how the business has expanded and developed. Obviously, you have made reference to things like your events, logistics, the engineering side. Those are all obviously natural progressions from what you were doing here as a core business. Have you got plans to develop further?
We've had 2 very tough years on the event side, and the event side is quite a big bit of our business. So in April 2020, we had 8 international tours lined up. So we start working on those in kind of September, October the previous year. So we were really ready to go with 8 tours, deposits paid, routes planned, clients signed up, and we had to pull the plug on 8 international tours, which was tough. So, and then we got towards the end of the year and it looked like we could do some tours, which then we couldn't. And then we got to March 2021 and it looked like we were going to be able to do tours again, and we couldn't. So it's been, it's been a very I feel like we've actually been in business 4 years, not 6.
Yeah.
We're going to expand the business in quite an organic way. V-Engineering, we were approached about a year ago by one of our drivers actually, who comes to Veloce, wanting to set up an engineering business within our facility here. And we didn't have space, and having an engineering business here wouldn't have been right. But it was enormously attractive proposition to have the 2 particular engineers that were going to be involved in the business, and for us as a brand to be involved with them. So we decided to start the business as a joint venture, and we did that over the road at a similar but much smaller facility. And we have the country's leading independent McLaren service centre, also independent Ferrari service centre, with 2 legendary engineers. So that's a great little third leg of the table. So events, storage and management, and engineering. What that 4th leg will be, I don't know. I think the obvious thing for us to do is to sell cars, but that's an area that I've avoided because a number of things. It's not an area I'm particularly interested in, but also there are so many great car dealers in the UK. I think we kind of lead the world in that. We have people who properly know their stuff. And so that's not an area that I think we would want to be involved in, because anything we do, we want to be the very best at, and I don't feel that there's scope for us to do that in that arena. So I think geography is probably the way we will expand. And at the moment, that direction is sort of south of France, Monaco, Saint-Tropez, which is another, 2 great hubs for
Sounds
wealthy
nice
car
and
owners.
doesn't it? We're available.
We're available
Yeah.
for the opening anytime.
And the rosé.
Definitely.
But you've also got a connection now, and it's on your website, with collecting cars. Explain
We have
about
indeed. I met Edward probably a couple of years ago now, and just been so impressed by how that business has done. I mean, obviously he knew very well what he was doing. He's very experienced in car sales, but that business has
Flying.
It's kind of redefined the way in which cars are sold, and I think everybody is playing catch up with that business now. So we're talking about various ideas for how we might be able to work together, and it struck me that one way that we could help that business and help his clients is to manage the sale process. Owners who don't want to sell cars off their own driveways and have people knocking on their door wanting to come and inspect the cars and all the paperwork and all of that kind of stuff. So we offer a managed sales service for their clients, and it's very simple. We take the car in, valet them, photograph them, do all the paperwork, and answer questions online, and people come and have a look at the cars here as opposed to on their driveway.
We're seeing the next generation of car owners coming through now, I think. Are you seeing any change in the demographic of people who you are talking to, either in terms of the VManagement or from collecting cars, from when you first started out?
Well, I think we were surprised when we started. We thought we were going to have quite a lot of classics here. And as you can see, what do you think, 50-50?
Oh, I'd say
maybe
less than that.
less than 50-50, so it's more modern.
Depends what your definition is.
Oh, well, I guess what's 21st century?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's probably that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised. I thought we'd have many more classics, but it's probably up 30-40%. I think we're going through. Obviously, I haven't been in the car business very long, but from what I can see in the eras that I've been interested in cars, it seems like there has never been as much interest in cars as there is now. It seems to be a real booming industry. Everybody seems to be interested in cars, whether that's the Goodwood factor or the Top Gear factor over the last 20 odd years, I don't know, but everybody seems to love cars.
The profile has significantly been raised, hasn't it? In all areas.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's just the digital age that's
Yeah.
helped that or whether it's other things.
That's interesting, because I wonder if people are now seeing cars as more of a lifestyle thing rather than just simply a means of getting from A to B. And you'd say, why on earth would you want to spend that many noughts on a car from going from A to B? It's become more of an activity, a way
much
of life.
more mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be quite niche, I think, if you had a car, and also collections have grown, haven't they? If you had 3 cars that weren't your road car 25 years ago, that was quite something.
Yeah.
Now 3 cars is nothing. 15 starts to flick the needle, doesn't it?
Cheers. I'm still in the nothing category.
Well, there you go,
We
me
have
too.
clients have got collections 30 cars over and one that's over 100. I mean, and I've seen warehouses of other collectors just full of their own cars. Not of this kind of quality of a storage unit, obviously. Obviously, that was quite dusty, but it was full of their own cars. It was quite something to see. Not
I
quite
can
sure.
imagine.
And what do you do with 100 cars?
I'm sure they don't even know what cars they've got.
No,
There were so many.
probably forget. Gosh, what a problem to have.
Actually, the management of them.
Mind you, they're saying the shoes,
Yeah, the management.
jewellery,
The management of
I don't
those.
forget any of them.
No? Well,
The one collector I know that's got 120 something cars does all the management themselves, has 2 full-time individuals working for them, and just the logistics of moving cars around, knowing where they are, where the service plans, the taxes, everything.
we have clients who don't
Horrific.
know where some of their cars are.
Yeah, I can believe it. I can actually believe it.
Yeah.
But Chris, you alluded as well to south of France. What's the relevance there? Apart from it being lovely and warm and Darren and I coming down to help you out in any
Well,
way.
there you
We
go.
are definitely going.
That's exactly why south of France is just a really appealing place to go and do tours. So we've been organising tours there for a very long time, and actually it's my favourite. I think it's probably the best place for touring. It combines incredible roads, great hotels, beautiful scenery, and some iconic places and some great rosé. And some iconic places to start and finish, Saint-Tropez and Monaco. And so a couple of years ago, my wife and I were leaving Saint-Tropez, and we were doing a recce for a tour that then got binned because of COVID. And as we drove out of Saint-Tropez, we drove past a sign that said the Saint-Tropez Polo Club. And I was reminded of having seen that sign 20 years before and saying, well, I wasn't in the car business, saying, wouldn't that be a great place for a car show? And I kind of hummed and hawed as we were on the plane going home thinking about it. And anyway, the next week I was back in Saint-Tropez doing a deal with the Saint-Tropez Polo Club for an event that we've now launched last year called Rendezvous Riviera, which is a one-day event with lots of beautiful cars, lots of fantastic...
V's in there.
Huh?
Lots of V's
Lots
in
of
there.
V's, there you go. Lots of fantastic rosé, great food, music, and it's a party. So, you know, in my time working in the car business, I've been lucky to go to lots of amazing concours events like Pebble Beach and Villa d'Este and Hampton Court and Salon Privé and all of those. And those events are brilliant. They do them fantastically well. And I'm not sure there's room. It's not an area I want to get into particularly. I'm not sure there's room in the market for yet another concours event. But what I think there is room for is an event that focuses more on the party element of more of a celebration of cars. So the Saint-Tropez Polo Club is the most glorious location with a very big field where you can fit lots of cars.
I look forward to my invite.
1st of October.
Thank you.
Saint-Tropez Polo Club. So we then have 2 tours. The aim of the event is also to be a hub for tours. So last year we ran Rendezvous Riviera for the first time, but we also ran the Derek Bell Tour for the first time, which started in Cap d'Antibes, went to Monaco and meandered through Provence for a few days. You're wanting to come, aren't you? I can tell.
I know. I'm now trying to think. So these both
need a
then can be...
co-driver?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and then the event...
But how good are you at map reading?
I'm not bad.
You don't need to read a map, you get turn-by-turn directions.
Okay.
No, I've done turn-by-turn directions. And the
You
trouble
don't
is-
like them?
No, I do. But the trouble is you make one mistake and it's impossible to unpick.
Yeah, but getting lost is all part of the fun
That's
of
why I
it.
need to know if he can read a map.
There you
Well, I
go.
can read a map. I'm from Newcastle.
So anyway, back to Derek's tour.
You found
So
a way out.
So
Exactly,
Derek's
the
tour
A1.
arrived at Rendezvous Riviera the day before, and Jodie Kidd co-hosted the event with Derek. So this year, Derek is doing a tour that arrives at Rendezvous Riviera, and Jodie is hosting a tour that leaves the day after Rendezvous Riviera. So it's a weekend. We start with a party on the Friday night, we have the event on the Saturday, and we then have a closed road parade around Saint-Tropez on the Sunday, which culminates in Jodie's tour leaving. So in terms of expanding the business, expanding the event side of the business, I think that is inevitably going to grow over the next few years. And we'll continue to do tours all over the world, but I think that'll be our hub.
So obviously that whole side of the business, as you say, the tours, the more social side, people sort of interacting with one another, does that fit with the changing demographic of the people that you are seeing coming in your years?
Not really. I think what, in terms of the event side, what I like in all events, car events really, I think they're kind of like parties. If you're invited to go to a party and you don't know the host and you don't know anybody else that's going, you're probably not going to go on it. So I think, we tend to attract on our tours people who are a bit like us, middle-aged, quite relaxed, not kind of 24-year-old Lamborghini drivers. There are lots of great tours out there for them, but they probably won't respond to our tours. And I've been a believer for a long time that and this isn't meant to be sexist, but is just the truth in general within the car business, and that is that wives are absolutely a key element in the car industry, because they hold, forgive the pun, they hold the keys. Yeah. Otherwise, if wives are not on board, if wives and partners are not on board, you're hating this, aren't you? I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, what if you're not a wife?
No, I'm seeing it from my own perspective, that generally 99.9% of our clients are men.
Yes.
It's just a fact. It's just the way it is. We have two or three wonderful, female car owners here who are very passionate about their cars, but in the main, it's from our perspective, it's a guy's thing.
Yes, I
and what we try to create are events that are as appealing to partners as they are to the car guys. Yeah. So what we do is we have, beautiful hotels, great food, fairly relaxed itineraries, so 3 hours driving in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. We say that if you're not by the pool with a glass of chilled rosé in your hand by 5 o'clock, you're not trying hard enough. Mm-hmm. So they are events, they're very glamorous. The people dress up, they look fabulous. Everything about the events is supposed to be quite glam, and as a result, wives and partners enjoy the events as much as the husbands do for all the wonderful driving. Yeah. So that all feeds into everything that we do in Saint-Tropez with this amazing car party.
Well, that sounds good. I like that. Now, one of the other things that we are doing is we want to know what car you would race, and for you I'm going to extend that to rally, tour, event, whatever. Race, drive, collect. Money is no object. Where would you go?
Oh, that's a tricky one. And if you asked me this question yesterday, it would be different to the answer I give you now. Well, there's a lovely 3.8 RS sat behind you that I would probably...
Yeah, lovely.
I'm not sure. I'd collect it. Yeah. I'd collect it, drive it, and I would tour it. But let's call that the driving car.
Okay.
To collect, 288 GTO. I'm an 80s boy, manual, 400 horsepower. It'll bite you if you get it wrong.
Yep.
No driver aids.
It's proving a popular choice, that actually, isn't it?
Yeah. And where were we? Race.
We need the race, rally.
Well, I've done a little bit of racing. The only racing I've done was in a Caterham Superlight R, I think it was. So that it was a lot like that. Maybe that or a 333 SP. Let's be ambitious.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. Yeah. Okay, well done. You've picked reasonably well, I'd say.
I'll have to save up.
Reasonably well. That's not much of a compliment.
I would just leave that. I wouldn't go elsewhere.
I know
there we go. That's just me. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for coming.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did, and we will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.